Veltar stood in the bright white room, looking at the data pad in his four-fingered hands. The symbols on the screen made his stomach feel sick, not because he could not read them, but because of what they meant. Species designation, human. He read out loud to himself. Planet of origin, Earth. Threat level, minimal. He set the pad down on his desk and walked to the large window. Outside, he could see the massive ships of the Corvani fleet floating in the dark space. Each ship was bigger than a human city. Each one had weapons that could destroy a planet. Veltar had been studying alien species for 30 years. He was good at his job, very good. He could look at any creature and tell you how it would act in a fight. He could predict what it would do when scared. He could tell you if it would run or if it would fight back. But humans were different. The report said they were new to space travel. They had only left their home planet a few hundred years ago. They had built a few small colonies on nearby planets and moons. Nothing special, nothing that should worry the great Corvani Empire. So why did he feel so worried? The door to his room opened with a soft sound. War Leader Thexnel walked in. The tall, gray-skinned Corvani looked down at Veltar with his big black eyes. "You have read the mission details?" Thexnel asked. His voice was deep and cold. "Yes, War Leader," Veltar said. He picked up the data pad again. "I am to observe human military behavior during combat. I will study how they react to superior force. I will record their tactics and psychology." "Good. The High Command wants to understand these humans before we take their planets. Knowledge makes conquest easier." Veltar nodded, but he still felt uneasy. "War Leader, may I ask a question?" "Speak. Why do we need to study them?" "The reports say they are weak. Their technology is basic. Their fleet is tiny. Why not just attack and be done with it?" Thexnel was quiet for a moment. He looked out the window at the human space station they would soon attack. It was small and ugly compared to Corvani ships. It looked like a metal box with engines stuck on it. "The High Command believes in being careful," Thexnel said finally. "Better to know your enemy even if they are weak. Besides, this will be good practice for our young warriors." "Practice? This will be their first real battle. Fighting humans will teach them how combat works without putting them in real danger." Veltar felt that sick feeling in his stomach again. Something was wrong. He could feel it. But he could not say what it was. "How many ships do the humans have?" he asked. "Intelligence reports 3 small patrol ships and the space station, maybe 200 humans total. And we have 50 ships, 20,000 warriors." The numbers should have made Veltar feel better. They did not. "When do we attack?" "Tomorrow. The humans have a supply ship coming. We will wait for it to arrive, then reveal ourselves. They will surrender quickly when they see our numbers." After Thexnel left, Veltar sat alone in his room. He pulled up files on his computer about the humans. Most of the information came from long-distance scans and intercepted communications. The Corvani had been watching human space for months, but they had not made contact yet. The humans called their species Homo sapiens. They were mammals, like many intelligent species. They had 2 arms, 2 legs, and 1 head. They were smaller than Corvani, but bigger than some other species the Empire had conquered. What made Veltar nervous was their history. The files showed that humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. Not just big wars between nations, but small fights between tribes and clans. They fought over land, water, food, and things Veltar did not understand, like religion and honor. Most species stopped fighting once they became advanced. They learned to share resources and solve problems with words instead of weapons. Humans seemed different. Even as they reached for the stars, they still fought each other. The human space station they would attack was called Titan Base. It was built on one of the moons of their home system. The base was supposed to be a research station, but the scans showed it had weapons. Lots of weapons. Veltar looked at the list of humans who would be defending the base. Captain Taejun was in charge. He was a soldier with 20 years of experience. Lieutenant Hyojin ran the tactical systems. Sergeant Dowan led the Marines. Engineer Nari took care of the machines. Medic Subin helped wounded people. Their records showed they had all fought in something called the Mars conflict 5 years ago. Humans fighting other humans over who controlled a planet. The war had lasted 3 years and killed millions of people. Veltar tried to understand why humans would kill so many of their own kind over one small planet. His people, the Corvani, sometimes had disagreements, but they solved them in courts or through debate. They did not kill each other, but humans did. They killed each other and then they kept the soldiers who survived. They put those soldiers in charge of defending their most important places. The sick feeling in Veltar's stomach got worse. He looked out the window again. Tomorrow, 50 Corvani ships would attack one small human base. The humans would see they could not win. They would surrender. Veltar would write his report about how humans gave up when faced with superior force. It should be simple. So why did he wish he could refuse this assignment? Outside his window, the human space station continued its slow orbit around the gas giant's moon. It looked peaceful, quiet, but Veltar had read the files. He knew that inside that small metal box were humans who had spent years learning how to kill. Tomorrow he would find out what that meant. The human supply ship arrived exactly when Corvani intelligence said it would. Veltar watched from his observation post as the small vessel docked with Titan Base. It was carrying food, equipment, and 3 new crew members. Perfect timing, War Leader Thexanol said over the communication system. Now they have more people to surrender. Veltar activated his recording equipment. His job was to watch and document everything. The High Command wanted to know exactly how humans acted when they faced impossible odds. All ships move to attack formation, Thexanol ordered. 50 Corvani warships came out of hiding. They had been waiting behind the large moon, invisible to human sensors. Now they moved into the open space around Titan Base like a pack of hunters surrounding prey. Veltar expected the humans to panic. Any sensible species would. 50 ships against one small base was not a fight. It was an execution, but the humans did something strange. They did not try to run. They did not send desperate messages begging for mercy. Instead, they went to battle stations. Unknown vessels, this is Captain Taejun of Titan Base, came a voice over the communication channel. The human's voice was calm and steady. You are in human space without permission. State your intentions, Veltar blinked in surprise. The human was talking to them like he had a choice in what happened next. I am War Leader Thexanol of the Corvani Empire, Thexanol replied. You will surrender your base immediately. Lay down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Resist and you will be destroyed. There was a pause. Veltar leaned forward, waiting for the human to accept defeat. Negative, War Leader, Captain Taejun said. This base is human territory. We will defend it. Veltar stared at his instruments. The human scanners must be working. They had to see the 50 Corvani ships. They had to know they could not win. So why were they refusing to surrender? You have 3 small ships and 1 base, Thexanol said. His voice showed his confusion. We have 50 warships. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. War Leader, let me make something clear, the human captain said. We see your ships. We know the odds. Our answer is still no. On his screens, Veltar watched the human base come alive. Weapon systems powered up. The 3 patrol ships moved into defensive positions. The supply ship that had just arrived started unloading cargo faster. Begin the attack, Thexanol ordered. Show them what happens when they refuse the Empire. The Corvani ships opened fire. Energy beams and missiles flew toward the human base. Veltar expected it to be destroyed in seconds. Instead, something impossible happened. The human base fired back, not just with small defensive weapons, but with heavy cannons that should not exist on a research station. The humans had been lying about what kind of base this was. Sir, they have military-grade weapons, a Corvani officer reported. Our scans missed them somehow. How is that possible? Thexanol demanded. Veltar checked his instruments. The humans had hidden their real weapons inside fake research equipment. Their mining lasers were actually ship killers. Their communication arrays were actually missile launchers. The first Corvani ship to be hit lost its shields completely. The human weapons were more powerful than they should be. All ships focus fire on the base, Thexanol ordered. Destroy it quickly. But the humans were not making it easy. Lieutenant Hyojin was coordinating their defense from inside the base. She was moving their ships in patterns that confused the Corvani targeting systems. Sir, they are jamming our sensors, another officer reported. How? Their technology is supposed to be primitive. Veltar watched in growing amazement as the 3 small human ships began attacking the Corvani fleet. They were fast and hard to hit. Worse, they were working together in ways that made no sense. One human ship would fly straight at a Corvani vessel, drawing its fire. While the Corvani ship was distracted, the other 2 humans would attack from different angles. It was like watching a pack of small animals hunt something much bigger than themselves. Sir, the humans are using ramming attacks, an officer said, his voice full of shock. Veltar looked at his screen. One of the human patrol ships had lost its weapons. Instead of retreating, it was flying directly at a Corvani cruiser. Surely they will turn away, Thexnell said. No pilot would sacrifice himself like that. The human ship did not turn away. It crashed into the Corvani cruiser at full speed. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire and metal. The communication channel crackled. This is Sergeant Dowan. Target destroyed. Beginning boarding operations on the nearest enemy vessel. Boarding operations? Veltar said out loud. They are trying to board our ships. It should have been impossible. Human soldiers could not survive in space without protection. They could not cut through Corvani armor. They could not. Sir, Sector 7 ship reports they are being boarded, an officer shouted. Human soldiers are inside the ship. Veltar pulled up the video feed from the Corvani ship. What he saw made no sense. Human soldiers in bulky spacesuits were fighting their way through the corridors. They were using weapons that cut through Corvani metal like it was paper. But how had they gotten inside? The ship's hull had not been breached. They used the trash disposal port, the ship's captain reported. The humans flew into our garbage chute and cut their way in from there. Who would think to attack through a garbage chute? Thexnell asked. Veltar was beginning to understand. These humans did not think like normal species. They saw opportunities where others saw only walls. On his screen, he watched engineer Nari working frantically inside the human base. She was connecting different machines together in ways that should not work. But somehow they did work. The base's shields were getting stronger, not weaker. Sir, how are their shields still up? An officer asked. We have been firing at them for 20 minutes. They are rebuilding them faster than we can destroy them, another officer said. It is like they are learning from our attacks. That was exactly what they were doing, Veltar realized. Every time the Corvani used a weapon, the humans figured out how to defend against it. Every time the Corvani tried a new tactic, the humans found a counterattack, sir. We are receiving a message from the human base, the communication officer said. Put it through, Thexnell ordered. Captain Taijun's voice came over the speakers again. War leader, you wanted to see how humans fight. This is just the beginning. We have sent details of your ships and weapons to Earth. Every human colony is learning how to beat you right now. What does he mean? Thexnell asked. Veltar checked the communication logs. The humans had been broadcasting everything during the fight. Ship designs, weapon frequencies, tactical patterns. They were sharing it all with their homeworld. Sir, Veltar said quietly, they are not just fighting us. They are studying us, just like we are studying them. The difference was that the humans were learning much faster. Another explosion lit up the darkness as a second Corvani ship was destroyed. The humans were not just defending anymore. They were winning, and they were just getting started. 2 hours into the battle, Veltar stopped taking notes. His hands were shaking too much to write. The humans should have been dead by now. Their base should have been destroyed. Their ships should have been floating wreckage. Instead, the Corvani fleet was losing. 7 Corvani ships had been destroyed. 7 more were damaged and pulling back from the fight. The humans had lost 1 patrol ship and taken heavy damage to their base. But they were still fighting. Worse than that, they were getting better at fighting. Sir, they are predicting our attack patterns, the tactical officer reported to War Leader Thexnell. Every time we try a new strategy, they counter it within minutes. Veltar watched Lieutenant Hyojin working at her control station inside the human base. Her fingers moved across the controls like she was playing music. But the music she was playing was death for Corvani ships. She had learned to read Corvani battle tactics by watching the fight. Now she could tell where each ship would move before it moved. She was directing the human defense like she had been fighting Corvani her whole life. How is this possible? Thexnell demanded. She is just one human. We have thousands of officers with decades of training. But that was the problem, Veltar realized. The Corvani officers had decades of training in fighting other Corvani. They knew the proper way to do things. They followed the rules of war that had worked for centuries. The humans did not know these rules, so they broke them. Sergeant Dowan had captured a Corvani boarding pod during the fight. Instead of destroying it, he took it apart and learned how it worked. Now he was using Corvani technology to attack Corvani ships. Sir, the humans have modified our own boarding pods, an officer reported. They are using them to deliver explosives. That is not how boarding pods work, Thexnell said. The humans do not seem to care how they are supposed to work. Veltar pulled up the video feed from the captured boarding pod. What he saw made his stomach sick with fear. Sergeant Dewan had turned the Corvani transport into a guided missile, but he was still inside it when it hit the enemy ship. The human soldier was riding his own bomb into the target. Did he survive? Veltar asked. Yes, sir. He jumped to safety just before impact. He is now fighting inside the ship he just bombed. This was not how war was supposed to work. Soldiers were valuable. You did not risk them on crazy attacks that might not work. But the humans seemed to think differently. They thought soldiers were weapons to be used, not treasures to be protected. Engineer Nari had done something even more impossible. She had taken mining equipment and turned it into military weapons. The base's mining lasers were now punching holes through Corvani armor like it was made of paper. Sir, how did they increase the power of mining equipment by 300%? An officer asked. They removed all the safety systems, the chief engineer reported. Those lasers will burn out after a few more shots. So they are destroying their own equipment? Yes, sir. They would rather have powerful weapons for a short time than weak weapons forever. Veltar was beginning to understand something terrible. The humans were not just willing to break their equipment. They were willing to break themselves. The worst moment came when Medic Subin appeared on the screens. She was treating wounded Corvani soldiers who had been captured during the boarding actions. She was healing them. Why is she helping our people? Thexnal asked. Veltar had no answer. In every species he had studied, enemies stayed enemies until the war was over. You did not heal someone who was trying to kill you. But the human medic worked on Corvani wounds with the same care she gave to human injuries. She even gave medicine to a Corvani officer who had been shooting at her friends just minutes before. What kind of species heals its enemies during a battle? Thexnal asked. I do not know, Veltar said, but he was starting to think that was the wrong question. The right question was, what kind of species was so confident in its ability to win that it could afford to heal its enemies? The humans were not just fighting the Corvani fleet. They were making a statement. They were saying that 50 Corvani ships were not enough to threaten them. Sir, we have intercepted human communications, the intelligence officer reported. They are sending battle data to their homeworld. What kind of data? Everything. Our ship designs, our weapon frequencies, our tactical patterns. They are also sending video of the battle. Veltar felt cold fear run through his body. Why would they do that? They are teaching other humans how to fight us. Every human colony will know our weaknesses before we reach them. The humans were not just defending one small base. They were using this battle as a training exercise for their entire species. Sir, the humans are doing something new, the tactical officer said. They are rigging their base to explode. On the screen, Veltar could see Engineer Nari connecting cables between the base's power core and its weapon systems. If she finished her work, the entire base would become one giant bomb. Are they planning to surrender? Thexnal asked. No, sir. They are planning to take us with them when they die. Captain Taejun's voice came over the communication channel again. War leader, you have a choice. Pull back your ships now or we will detonate our base. The explosion will destroy everything within 50 kilometers. You will die too, Thexnal said. Yes, we will. But we will take most of your fleet with us. And Earth will know exactly how to kill the rest of your ships. Thexnal was quiet for a long moment. Veltar could see him thinking. The Corvani Empire had never faced an enemy that was willing to die just to hurt them. You are bluffing, Thexnal said finally. No species would sacrifice themselves for no gain. War leader, Captain Taejun said, and Veltar could hear the smile in his voice. You have been fighting humans for 3 hours. Have we done anything normal yet? Veltar looked at his screens. The human base was glowing with energy as its power core overloaded. They were really going to do it. They were going to turn their own home into a weapon. Sir, what are your orders? The tactical officer asked. Thexnal stared at the human base. 30 Corvani ships were close enough to be destroyed if it exploded. The loss would be terrible. But if they pulled back, they would be admitting that humans could not be conquered by force. Sir? The officer asked again. For the first time in his life, Veltar saw a Corvani war leader hesitate. And in that moment of hesitation, he realized that the humans had already won. Veltar could not sleep that night. The battle had paused when both sides agreed to a temporary ceasefire. War leader Thexnal needed time to decide what to do about the human threat to destroy their base. The humans used the time to make repairs and send more data to Earth, but Veltar used the time to dig deeper into human history. What he found made him wish he had never accepted this assignment. The files he accessed came from human databases that Corvani intelligence had been scanning for months. Most of it was basic information about human society and technology, but buried in the historical records was something much more frightening. Humans had been at war for their entire existence. Not just big wars between nations, but constant fighting everywhere, all the time. Veltar found records of conflicts that lasted hundreds of years. Wars fought over land, resources, ideas, and sometimes for reasons that made no sense at all. One file described something called World War II. Humans had divided into groups and tried to kill each other using machines, chemicals, and fire. Over 70 million humans had died in just 6 years. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what happened after the war ended. Instead of learning to stop fighting, humans had studied what went wrong. They had analyzed every battle, every weapon, every mistake. They had turned their own suffering into a textbook for future conflicts. Veltar found training manuals used by human soldiers. They were full of detailed instructions on how to kill other humans. Not just quickly, but efficiently. Humans had spent thousands of years learning the best ways to destroy their own kind, and now they were using those same skills against the Corvani. Computer, show me human military doctrine, Veltar said to his workstation. The files that appeared made him sick. Humans had rules for everything. How to fight when outnumbered, how to turn everyday objects into weapons, how to use your own death as a tool against your enemy. They called it asymmetric warfare. When facing a stronger opponent, humans would use tricks, traps, and suicide attacks. They would sacrifice some of their people to kill more of the enemy. They would turn their weaknesses into strengths. Lieutenant Hyojin had been using these tactics against the Corvani fleet. She was following strategies that humans had developed while fighting each other. Veltar pulled up more files. Humans had fought in every kind of environment. In space, underwater, underground, in frozen wastelands and burning deserts. They had learned to kill in every possible situation. But the most frightening discovery was what humans did to survive when they could not win. They would hide their weapons and pretend to surrender. Then they would attack when the enemy was not ready. They called it guerrilla warfare. Computer, calculate human population growth during wartime, Veltar said. The answer made no sense. Human population actually grew faster during wars. While other species became smaller and weaker when they fought, humans became larger and stronger. War did not hurt humans. It made them better. A soft sound made Veltar look up. War leader Thexnal was standing in his doorway. You have been working all night, Thexnal said. What have you learned? War leader, I think we have made a terrible mistake. Explain, Veltar gestured to his screen. Look at this data. Humans have been fighting for over 10,000 years. They have never had peace for more than a few decades at a time. So, many species have violent histories. No, you do not understand. Most species fight until they learn better ways to solve problems. Humans fight because that is how they solve problems. War is not something that happens to them. War is what they do. Thexnal moved closer to the screen. Show me. Veltar brought up a chart showing human conflicts over time. Red dots marked every war, battle, and military action. The screen was almost completely red. They never stop, Veltar said. Even when they are not fighting major wars, they are fighting small ones. Police actions, border disputes, civil wars, revolutions, always something. But they are still a young species. Surely they will grow out of this phase. War leader, look at this. Veltar showed him data about human technological advancement. Every major breakthrough in human technology came from military research. Their computers, their rockets, their medicine, even their food production. All of it started as weapons research. What are you saying? I am saying that humans do not just fight wars. They are built for war. Their entire civilization is designed around conflict. Thexnal was quiet for a moment. But they are still primitive compared to us, are they? Veltar pulled up new files. Look at what they did yesterday. In 3 hours of fighting, they learned our weaknesses and exploited them. They turned mining equipment into military weapons. They used our own technology against us. Any species can learn. Not like this. Watch this battle recording. Veltar showed him video of Sergeant Dowan capturing the Corvani boarding pod. The human had figured out how it worked just by watching it in action. Then he had modified it and used it as a weapon. How long would it take a Corvani engineer to do the same thing? Veltar asked. Weeks, maybe months. We would need to study the technology, run tests, file reports. Duwan did it in 20 minutes. While people were shooting at him. Thexnol stared at the screen. That should not be possible. War leader, I think we are looking at this wrong. We keep saying humans are primitive because their technology is simple. But what if simple technology is better for war? Veltar brought up specifications for human and Corvani weapons. Our energy rifles are more powerful and more accurate. But they need rare materials and complex manufacturing. If one breaks, it takes a factory to fix it. And human weapons? Simple mechanical devices. You can build them anywhere with basic tools. If one breaks, any human can fix it. They are designed to be used by soldiers, not engineers. The truth was becoming clear. Humans had not developed advanced technology because they did not need it. They had developed practical technology. Technology that worked in war. Computer, show me human casualty rates from yesterday's battle, Veltar said. The numbers appeared on screen. 12 humans were wounded. 3 were killed. But look at their medical records, Thexnol read the files. These humans have all been injured in combat before. Multiple times. Duwan has been wounded in battle 7 times. Hyojin has been injured 4 times. They keep fighting even after being hurt. Why would they do that? Because that is what humans do. They do not stop fighting just because they are injured. They learn from their injuries and get better at avoiding them next time. Veltar pulled up the medical files for Medic Subin. Look at this. She learned field medicine by treating wounded soldiers in active combat zones. She has performed surgery while under enemy fire. That is insane. No, war leader. That is human. The communication system activated. Captain Taejun's voice filled the room. War leader Thexnol, this is your final warning. You have 1 hour to withdraw your fleet. After that, we detonate the base. Thexnol looked at Veltar. They are still bluffing, are they? Veltar brought up psychological profiles of the human crew. These humans all volunteered for this assignment. They knew it was dangerous. They knew they might die. They came anyway. Why? Because other humans are counting on them. Because Earth needs to know how to fight us. Because they believe their deaths will save their people. Veltar showed him human communications from the battle. Messages to families, final instructions, personal videos. The humans were saying goodbye to their loved ones. War leader, they are not bluffing. They are already dead. They died the moment they decided Earth was more important than their own lives. For the first time since Veltar had known him, War leader Thexnol looked afraid. What do you recommend? Thexnol asked. Veltar looked at his screens full of human data. War records, casualty reports, tactical manuals, psychological profiles, thousands of years of humans learning how to kill and how to die. I recommend we leave, Veltar said quietly, and I recommend we never come back. War leader Thexnol gave the order to withdraw with just 10 minutes left on the human deadline. The Corvani fleet pulled back to a safe distance, leaving the human base intact but surrounded. Veltar watched the retreat from his observation post. 37 Corvani ships had been destroyed or damaged beyond repair. Thousands of Corvani warriors were dead or missing. The most powerful fleet in the Empire had been beaten by 200 humans on a research station. But the real defeat was not the lost ships or dead soldiers. The real defeat was what the humans had learned. Sir, the humans are broadcasting again, the communication officer reported. Captain Taejun's voice came over the speakers. He sounded tired but not defeated. War leader, thank you for the educational experience. We have learned much about Corvani technology and tactics. This information is being transmitted to Earth as we speak. You have won nothing, Thexnol replied. We will return with more ships while you can try. But next time, every human colony will know exactly how to fight you. We will have weapons based on your own technology. We will know your weaknesses. Thexnol cut the communication, but Veltar knew the human was right. The battle recordings were already spreading through human space. Every human military base was studying Corvani ship designs and attack patterns. The Empire had given them the greatest gift possible, knowledge of their enemy. Veltar began writing his final report with hands that would not stop shaking. How could he explain what he had witnessed? How could he make the High Command understand what they had awakened? Report summary, he typed. Human species classification must be changed from minimal threat to extinction-level danger. Immediate recommendation, Avoid all contact with human space. But even as he wrote the words, Veltar knew it was too late. The humans had seen Corvani ships. They had captured Corvani technology. They would not forget and they would not forgive. Detailed observations: humans are not a normal species. They have evolved specifically for warfare. Every aspect of their biology, psychology, and culture is designed for combat. They do not fight to win territory or resources. They fight to ensure their enemies can never threaten them again. Veltar paused in his writing. Through his window he could see the human base. It looked the same as before the battle, but everything had changed. Those humans had faced impossible odds and refused to surrender. They had turned their own home into a weapon rather than let the enemy have it. Combat observations. Humans adapt to new threats with incredible speed. They learn from their mistakes and improve their tactics in real time. They are willing to sacrifice themselves and their equipment to achieve victory. They show no fear of death when fighting for their people. The worst part was what Veltar had discovered in the human databases. This was not unusual behavior for humans. This was normal. Every human military unit was trained to act this way. Every human soldier was expected to fight to the death if necessary. The Corvani Empire had accidentally challenged a species of warriors. Technological assessment. Human technology appears primitive but is actually optimized for warfare. Their weapons are simple but effective. Their ships are ugly but functional. They can build war machines anywhere using basic materials. Veltar remembered watching engineer Nari turn mining equipment into ship-killing weapons. She had done it during combat under fire using only hand tools. No Corvani engineer could match that kind of improvisation. Psychological profile. Humans bond through shared violence. They become stronger when threatened. They turn their own suffering into tactical knowledge. They treat war as a learning experience rather than a trauma. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Veltar opened it and felt his blood turn cold. It was from Captain Tae-jun. Veltar, we know you have been watching us. We hope you learned something useful. Please give this message to your leaders. Earth knows about the Corvani Empire now. We know where you come from and how you fight. We are coming. The message included detailed scans of every ship in the Corvani fleet. The humans had been studying them just as carefully as Veltar had been studying the humans. We do not want war. The message continued. But you brought war to us. Now we will bring peace to you. Human peace, the kind that lasts forever. Attached to the message were ship designs. Human engineers had already begun building new vessels based on captured Corvani technology, but they had not simply copied the Corvani designs. They had improved them. The new human ships were faster, more heavily armed, and required fewer crew members. They were designed to be built quickly in large numbers. The humans were preparing for total war. Veltar finished his report with trembling fingers. Final assessment. The Corvani Empire has made a fatal error. We sought to conquer a primitive species and instead revealed ourselves to a race of apex predators. Humans do not simply fight wars. They are war. He paused, then added one final note. Personal recommendation. I request immediate transfer to any assignment far from human space. I have learned that some knowledge comes at too high a price. 6 months later, Veltar was working at a research station on the far edge of the Empire. He had gotten his transfer, but he could not escape the news from the human frontier. Human fleets had appeared at 12 different Corvani colonies. They did not attack. They simply arrived and made announcements. This is Admiral Tae-jun of the Human Defense Force, the messages always said. We are here to ensure peace. Any act of aggression against human space will result in the complete destruction of this system. We hope for your cooperation. The humans had built their own empire in just 6 months, not through conquest but through threat. Every species that heard about what happened at Titan Base decided they did not want to fight humans. The Corvani High Command had tried to organize a massive counterattack. 500 ships, their largest fleet ever assembled. But when the fleet reached human space, they found something impossible waiting for them. 1,000 human vessels, all armed with modified Corvani weapons. The human admiral had sent a simple message. We learned from the best teachers. Thank you for the lessons. The Corvani fleet had withdrawn without firing a shot. Veltar read the reports and felt sick. The empire that had conquered 100 worlds was afraid of a species they had discovered just months ago. His personal communicator chimed. Another message from Captain Tae-jun, now Admiral Tae-jun. Hello, old friend. I hope you are well. I wanted you to know that your observations helped us greatly. We are using your own research to build better weapons and train better soldiers. Science is wonderful, is it not? Veltar deleted the message without reading the rest. He already knew what it would say. The humans were grateful for his work. They had learned so much from his studies of their behavior. They had learned how to be even more dangerous. Outside his window, space looked peaceful and quiet. But Veltar knew the truth. Somewhere out there, human ships were patrolling the darkness, watching for threats, ready to fight. He had been ordered to study humans in battle. He had learned that they were not just good at war. They were war itself, given form and purpose. And now they knew about the Corvani Empire. Veltar closed his eyes and tried not to think about what would happen when the humans decided that peace was not enough. When they decided that the only way to protect their people was to make sure no one could ever threaten them again. He had studied them in battle. Now he wished he had refused.